next reader is Jesse Minkert. Jesse began as a painter and a sculptor. First under the instruction of his father, he acquired a BFA as a painter and an MA as a sculptor, but soon after he moved to Seattle, he faced serious trouble with his vision. This led him to literature as a form of creativity he could pursue whether he could see or not. He has written plays for theater and radio, short stories, novels, and poems. Woodworks published a collection of his microfictions, Shortness of Breath and Other Symptoms, in 2008. His poetry and fiction have appeared in Mount Hope, Floating Bridge Review, Harper Palette, Aunt Chloe, Raven Chronicles, Wandering Hermit Review, and others. Minkert operates a nonprofit arts and visually impaired audiences, and each summer helps visually impaired school kids produce radio plays and PSAs. Please help me welcome Jesse.
And I hope that explains a lot.
Oh.
This and this slips from its footings, plunges the embankment, splashing over branches. This folds into the hole. This sits submerged to the roofline. This devours the survivors in the course of the night. A disparance, a tree in whose root bone the earth has turned to soup. Brake linings, shredded treads, disintegrate, bald-faced, open, gaping mouth proceed without the guardrail. Air stands before a wall of air, darkness before darkness, the open muzzle, the breath in the face, the shouting down into the tube. Images from movies, dislocation, patterns on the surface, wind shear, undertow, a definition, not a taste, but a fragrant bottle showing where at the base. Granites fracture the wheels rolling toward the precipice. Echoes fade from within the debris. An undulation, a ripple on the water because our calluses have faded. New skin touched like newborn fingers. Seas of raging faces drift open at her glance. Her eyelash at rest on a stone, a breathless one, a tapering wafer, a fleeting recollection. Absorbent surface tilting in the balance, replenish a reluctance between the grassy ball and the parabolic disc. Speaks in archaic ideograms of passing apparitions, effervescent. Still, I'm silent. This is what she found, reaching out, testing the tension in the surface. The depth of resolution contains her banistered headstone. No name chiseled, no portrait etched. Vines have wrapped it round and shriveled. No gathering, no dust, no leafy spring, when who has departed will fail to resemble who has returned. The pattern steadies close to fallen trunks, spills along a sand embankment, reads as if written by a hand in words not spoken yet by anyone, and rain replies in more voices than a pair of ears can translate. Our Papa wears those tapered slacks that bind where compass points refuse to close. The passing throng throw candy cigarettes, those tubal episodes, from under Mama's skirt. Mama puts red pennies on her pillow to pacify her sleep. Accelerant collects between the slats. In the glass, a dispatch to the squadrons. Fire on the hill, embers aglow among the marigolds, burning tires, broken windows. Grass is thirsty for a blink's worth of purification. A bell in the distance, the colonel's fleeing. They've sent us kids to Cleveland for the winter, there to confer with the brigadier. until the saviors drop from passing planes in multiples of 20. Space medics focus their electron blasters on targets between tattoo. Precise, and still the enemy must suffer, shrivel, die for injecting chaos into this collection. The apparatus explosive spray ignites our shuffle through the dark to the lamp with the burned out bulb. Instant release, removal. Here again, the toxic vapors converge in time to ring the alarm, sound the horn, churn the labyrinthine bones to gelatin. The last of the bottom, the last of the lotion, the broken skin, the absorbent, transparent, volatile suspension, sketch purple channels around down the back. This is the derivation. Falling partitions, granulated bone, soft tissue, arteries, veins, nerves, skin, shuffled, strayed, released from obligation to contribute to the accelerating goal. Carry down the trophies, rattle the cards in the slots. Faces, numbers, smeared erasure, eliminating gesture, damp below the surface, a blister where the grip pinched, our faces etched in an acid bath. Heat, gas, and worms, flies, maggots in the black crawling soil. The organism will apologize soon. The vestige becomes a warehouse for salt. We deploy to the river, where dirt washes down the black living soil, the clay below, the sand, the shale, the pockets of cobalt, shimmering blue. Molecules crawl through arteries, batteries run down, time becomes a battle to catch breath. A face fixed in a plastic mask, can't remember where the air comes in. Cold will climb bones, close its fingers on the heart, and maybe that annoying beat will take this opportunity to change its pace. Let my children enter. On the table in the coroner's closet, let them see the meat. Guide their hands into my abdomen. Run their fingers along my vertebrae. Here is where the cartilage has worn away. This is my vestigial tail. On these locations, ribs attach and curl around to gather at the sternum. The bump on the left, a meaningless imperfection which only serves as another marker, useful only to identify my vestiges. Allow them their repulsion at this spectacle I've performed for their sake. My cells have discarded me. I've become a lie emergent from survivors' tongues. A scar where the hair has burned away, brief discussion, planning, or surrender to the coastal pulse, to reconduction through the electrolyte as if its burning throat could shout its cornice, crack and shatter. On the walk, its tributaries divert to valleys carved in basalt. Scant reminder, traces of the past, the secrets made irrelevant, lost in the expansion of play, erasures on the tablature, rain removing handprints slapped into the mud on the faces in the rocks. From dirt governance, crawling soil, the plastic species that appraise for more when their covers are torn and raw. A form of reduction sprawling on the flat, cracking stones, the surf shifting south, the river's mouth closing, ejecta spew into the recesses, wind-polished faces under these deposits. Children strutting past the skulls, eyes expectant, teeth shining out from their unblemished cheeks. Here comes the last of the gargoyle chatter, straight up from the pipe in the wall, as distended as she remembers, as black as the grass on the lawn can stand. Encapsulated in a sheath of scars, hung inside the shuffle of material, inside the ovoid scatter, merged and acquiesced, a concession, a delay, a perforation open on the offhand. Line pressure release, transmission over a rectified distance to the junction heads. Distribute portions of capacity from the number at the base of the list. These colonies sought rest within a hydraulic instinct to obey, but the pipes were never properly sealed. At certain junctures, seepages defied all caulking guns, soldering irons, gaskets, layers of ribbons of tape, where nested injections of steam released a discontented spray. Patterns faded and robbed the drama, the scene now bleached. Figures in the background, face down on the carpet, snoring through the second act, features smeared by reverie. Rings form round about, shake hands in front of her children, a breath of Halloween in their caverns, pale sandals where the line closes, letters raised by sea level shining, more protocol than weather can remember. The old man, feet among the roots, should have learnt by now to carry his bones one atop the other. These knots, he says, that harden on my bones, don't help me hear the saxophones. This ravaged hand stings from the salt, blood on the strand purples the asphalt. My mouth fills now with rain and now with wind, with soil and coins, wasps' wings, threads of socks, shouts, splinters, scraps of skin, bones sound when they shatter like celery sticks between the fingers of his daughter, who has prepared the tray of ranch, blue cheese, or hummus dips. But under the crush of teeth, he can smell his skeleton moving between the millstones of the world's mastication. She either is, or was, or wasn't. The imagery keeps shifting. Skin, hands, fingernails, eyelash loose and floating on the eye, begging for more tears. Transient spectral figures can afford to ignore the draft that chills her skin, drift through magnetic fields with no effect on vector. None of her uncertainty reflects on their pulsations, nor tell her histories to drums who cannot tremble. They either don't, or won't, or didn't recognize her fragrance, settling on the furniture like pollen. Clutter on the tiles, past due document to pay in bureau time, or silent currency, explain the delay to the robocall. Thought done, thought another was this. My betters can remember hoping to slide between the drops, as do the registrars in the shift of columns, the downpour of cold procedure. Resolve, perform the motions at some appointed hour before the penetrating deadline can slam hard shut. On the studio slider made of masters, cylinders break out hanging testimony, ratchet turns and clicks, holds and twists. Here is the music of tightening, of snug sitting on the housing, where the radio speaks to the engineer in his sleep, night winding to the factory specified degree of compression. Rainbow frequencies, a sample performance quotient marks a turn or bend, refraction toward the filtered baseline pass. A sediment collects on the base of the channel. Liquids clear in time across a solution, a cleansing, separating barrier. Allow them to dismiss, to swim through the openings, to pass, to fade, decay, become extinct. Pedals, lifters, hammers, rockers, pads, the nuts, the bridges, the keys, the frets, the forks, the slides, the hidden tension arms, the waves, the crests and troughs, the sounds on their backs, the ringing bells, the screaming ears settle on a blanket of silt in the mouth of the delta where everyone gets a bed. A quarter rattles like a tambourine inside the sweatband of a trembler's hat on the street. The crown cups the property. The homesteader's hand in his pants, stakes in the corners of his acre. The rattler and his future maker exchange no eye contact, no words. Fabric with black and white designs fit tight around the footfall traffic who jangled under the neon. Eunice roused the tambouriner, gone again from this corner. Slumber mingles with hunger upon those bumpy surfaces behind the cloth band and the leather. A collection of coins beg to repair the pocket lining, a nest of change in self-defiance. The future's hats in hand reappear to blow a note, strum a chord, sing a refrain, and no one listens but they. Uneven silhouette pulled in four directions, two of which are hiding in the pockets under the mud, where mud hens bathe, or gifts like peaches carry for all a surprise. Shadows hurry, nights seem gray, as replicas of armored particles on an agitated surface migrating to the edges, as if called, as if threatened. But the rhythm, the drum head bending on concussion, discrepancy, resistant to tension, impulse, compression, coming, softening under the canopy. Bunch gather on the ledge, reluctant footing, rubber squeaks for solace. The eyes of the squid secrete a creamy ooze, as if the teeth were to ring the bells for the brushes. Little of consequence to measure against the standard decimated rings shine in sunlight, but smile in the shade. Benny finds his zipper stuck between the Bosporus and the Anasazi home. Have mercy in the clarinets, have moisture on the reeds. Keys move up and down according to whim and wind. Benny pulls hard to close the distance. He can't betray the inches that chatter up the ridgeline. Brass blows sassy from the high back row. Wait for word from Benny what follows in the interval. Features closing over eons. Rocks in streaks twisted. Silt gags the Bosporus. Gone the Anasazi. Ladders, bowls, windows show whom they were to families from Hokkaido. The timpani, the snares, the hi-hats tremble, teeth all realign in the final burst, compel Benny to sing to badgers as to brothers. Thank you.